free option is that YouTube can use speech recognition technology to automatically create captions for the videos we upload. These automatic captions are generated by machine learning algorithms, so the quality of the captions may vary. Automatic captions may not be ready at the time each video is uploaded. Processing time depends on the complexity of the video's audio. Automatic captions might misrepresent the spoken content due to misprints and pronunciations, accents, dialects, or background noise. Automatic captions can be edited, however, if they are not properly transcribed. They might not be an option for some videos, though, due to processing complex audio in the video, if the language in the video is not yet supported by automatic captions, if the video is too long, if the video has poor sound quality or contains speech that YouTube doesn't recognize, there's a long period of silence at the beginning of the video, there are multiple speakers whose speech overlaps, and YouTube also allows us to upload a transcript of the video or manually caption the video. Of course, that would require resources to go through what everyone's saying and then type it all in. There is a paid service where you can pay $1 to $3 a minute to caption for you. You would have to upload and send the video to the service, and then additional costs would apply depending upon how fast we want that captioning turned around. So I wanted to just give everyone an update on that. See, it's there's a lot there for us to look into, and but we do have some information that'll help us continue to move forward with getting that in place. Following up on, there was a question regarding feedback, that if we follow feedback from representatives when we send the resolutions that we pass to the legislators. Since the inception of this committee several years ago, and through Dr. Kevin Keene's tenure as the Government Relations Administrative Liaison, distributing the resolutions to appropriate legislators has been the extent of the district's outreach. We do receive unsolicited response from time to time. So, for example, Governor Wolf actually recently sent us a letter thanking us for our two most recent resolutions on SB2 and school safety. He did write that he opposes vouchers from the school safety of his SB2 letter, and for school safety, he wrote that he's called on our leaders in the U.S. Congress to take steps toward banning military-style weapons and dangerous accessories. And he closed his letters by writing that he's always impressed and humbled by the dedication shown by local leaders like you. Another example occurred at the May 18th DCIU Legislative Breakfast, when during his remarks to an audience of Delaware County superintendents, school board members, and other educational leaders, Representative Alex Charlton mentioned the resolutions on SB2 and school safety received from Radnor, and how we value such actions and communications from his school district constituents. Status of the district's education channel. There was a question about concern with the content and the strategy going forward with our video offerings. And I wanted to just remind the public that we're in the midst of a comprehensive study on these offerings and the distribution of how we distribute our video in the district. And that's being led by Nikki Crone, again in our TV studio under my direction. And we first announced this study in January. We've had some meetings since then, and we continue to make progress over the summer, and we ask for the public's patience as we really take a look at how we offer video both on the channel and streaming and through mobile. So those are my comments in regards to the questions from the public. I have a couple things just generally for the good of the order. I want to recap Ms. Goldman and myself's experience at the Educational Policy Fellowship Program. So over the course of the year, Ms. Goldman and I, along with 30 others, participated in the 19th Annual Pennsylvania Education Policy Program, presented by the Education Policy and Leadership Center, and led by Ron Cowell, who is the president of the Education Policy Leadership Center. And he was also a member of the PA House of Representatives for 24 years, and he retired in 1998. And during his time, he was a minority chair of the House Committee on Education for about 12 years. So the stated goals of this professional development program were to allow participants to develop a broader understanding of the policy process and various aspects of education policy, to enhance communication decision-making skills, to refine participants' potential for leadership, and to expand each participant's network of professional colleagues. So over the course of the school year, beginning in September, Ms. Goldman and I traveled to Harrisburg, Mechanicsburg, Washington, D.C., and Gettysburg with our cohort to take part in different seminars and workshops concerning educational policy. Our cohort included superintendents, other administrators, as well as participants from the private sector and higher education. We learned from many distinguished guest speakers, such as Pedro Rivera, esteemed political and public affairs analyst G. Terry Madonna, and Inquirer columnist John Baer, among many others, on various subjects such as vouchers, charters, family school community partnerships, and student achievement, such as standardized testing, assessments, and accountability. So our efforts paid off on June 6th when Ms. Goldman and I were graduated from the program. I'll show you a nice little photo of all of us. This also program was completed by Dr. Kevin Kane and Dr. Anthony Stevenson in previous years. So we really did, speaking from Ms. Goldman, find it to be a valuable experience, and we brought a lot of information back to the committee and to the district that we can put into place. So wanted to just keep everybody informed about that. And then lastly, wanted to let people know about the civics test legislation bill sponsored by Representative Karen Boback out of Luzerne County. HB 564, it would amend the public school code to provide for assessment of civic knowledge. It was signed in the House on June 6th. It was signed in the Senate on June 11th, and it's gone to Governor Wolf on the same day, June 11th. So he intends to sign it from what the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette reports. It would take effect the 2021 school year, and it should be administered once to students through between grades 7 and 12. It doesn't need to be passed to graduate. It's just a test that they want to be in the place that the student might have to take during that span at some point. And then school district would have to respond to a survey assessing their compliance towards the middle of that, towards the end of the assessment period. So for example, if students were assessed in 7th grade, a survey will go out the following year. The district will have until January to complete the survey, letting whomever is asking for the survey know what grade was surveyed, how many students were surveyed, and the results of those tests. If a student gets a perfect score, they'll get a letter of commendation. Otherwise, it'll just be the student took the test check mark. So we're going to keep up on that, but I think when we move to curriculum, potentially to delve into a little bit further, since it would involve obviously testing. And that's it for me.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Patini, for that. Let's move into public comment. Do we have public comment this afternoon? Good afternoon, Mrs. Sherry.
Judy Sherry, Governor's Circle, Town Square. 5 comments. First is the leadership of this committee satisfied with the 30 minutes allocated for its meetings? Do you think that it's enough time to cover what you need to cover? Number 2, in the future, this was mentioned by Mr. Patini, but in the future, when resolutions are sent to legislatures, wouldn't it make sense to request a response, including whether or not they agree with the resolution and what action they will take regarding the resolution? Number 3, will members of this committee speak up at public meetings when opportunities exist to improve communication or governing practices, like when a resolution is substantially changed to allow for public comment before a final vote is taken? A number of these really are for board members to respond to, not just the administration. Number 4, public communication survey, age. Just a few comments. Did anyone under the age of 55 participate in this survey? Because I would think that there was quite a few people out there with children not in the schools, but might be younger than 55. So that might say something about how the survey was advertised. Number 2, under the category, where do you get information about Radnor Township School District? I think the sources should be accompanied, and maybe it's a question, shouldn't the sources be accompanied by the percentages so that the district knows where to put its efforts in the future? There was like a big lumping together of different places people get information without dividing it up into, oh, they mostly get it from this source or another source. And my final comment is about page 2 in the AR communications under news media relations. This section seems to me ridiculously antiquated. If enacted, it could only be selectively, hence unfairly, enforced. Almost everyone carries voice messaging, photo, video, social media capacity in their pocket everywhere they go every day of the week. This level of control is not possible in today's world. Realistic parameters for administrators, teachers, employees, and visitors may be possible since they are there by choice. Students, however, are compelled to attend school, so taking away their First Amendment rights might prove problematic legally, and no doubt that it would be operational. I really hope that you take a good hard look at this section, because I was thinking even during graduation, people take a lot of photos and they include a lot of other students. And if they have to run all their photos by Mr. Petiti before they post them to Facebook, I think we wouldn't have time for anything else if he has time to review all of those. So, thank you.
May I just quickly clarify that? So this section is regards to photos and images sent to media professionals. So if a parent,
Can you just cite the section, which paragraph?
It's called news media relations. So
Oh, I know
media
that.
relations with the news media,
Right.
not with Facebook or Twitter. So if a parent comes to graduation, he or she is free to take as many photos as he or she would like and put them on her personal Facebook page to his or her heart's content.
It says here, out of respect for the privacy of all students, parents, guardians are requested to refrain from distributing online, on social media, or to the news media personal photographs they may take on district property
Yes.
or at district school events
Yes.
of school students who are not their children. It doesn't say news
Yes,
media.
the operative verb there is request. It doesn't say prohibit. So really, we just want to make parents aware that when they take a group photo of a bunch of students at an event, those parents of the other students may have different positions regarding online sharing than the parent of that student who, is taking the photo. So our hope is that parents will just have a recognition that when they're at an event, they can take whatever photos they like, of course, but they may have different positions than their peer parents in where those photos should go. We obviously can't control those personal photos. We can just encourage parents to maybe consider that before sharing broadly.
And isn't that also because there's a media release system in place in the district where the district is not allowed to release photos of students where their parents have expressly forbidden that?
Exactly. So the point here is to protect students' privacy. We are privy to a list of permissions that parents give of students whose images can go out. Obviously, parents don't have that list. So that really is all that paragraph is asking parents to recognize, is that people may not want pictures of their students out there.
Okay. Thank you very much for that explanation, Mr. Petiti. Mrs. Spurtle?
Good afternoon. Mrs. Spurtle Wayne. The comment on the civics test bill, which I know is not yet passed, state final passage, is how important I feel this is. This is just a personal opinion. It's important that our key, and the reason that this came up is they had no idea what the 3 different branches of the government were. And my question is, you've gone in the next page, you explain the different areas that civics are taught here at Radnor Township School District, and to think very seriously when this is passed that Radnor does want to adopt a civics test, and that all students should receive it, and to carefully look at what's being taught. There was a comment by one of the legislatures in Montgomery County that she didn't feel that they were, the ignorance of how the government works could not be judged from the test. And I think it's important because I think the students will prepare for it even though they don't have to prepare for it because everyone wants to be successful. I think it's a very important item. A question on, I guess it's not part of SB 723. It's the last paragraph on Act 70 SB 723 page about the audit phase for social studies for the 2017-18 year. RTSD social studies is in the the audit phase of the curriculum review of social studies, and they can audit parents will have the opportunity to give feedback. And I'm wondering if that has been completed.
Can you just wait till I find out?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have a page right here, yeah, it's towards the back.
It's not a page. It's after the,
Okay.
it was after the PG, this page that has the initials. for
This
the
is
rest.
something we had given out at a previous meeting because we've discussed the civics test requirement before, so this was something that our social studies, that the
Oh,
administrator in
it
charge
has
of.
to do with the civics exam? It's part of that?
Yeah, we've talked about this before, so we just thought we'd bring forth the information again, given that this bill is now on the governor's desk. Before it was getting some traction, but it's now actually on the desk, will likely be signed. And so we're bringing forth this information about social studies in the district for a second time.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, it looked like it was an audit that you were giving for the whole social studies program.
Well, that is,
By parents?
that's going on too.
Okay. It is going, my question is it going on or is it scheduled since it's supposed to be this school year, 17-18 school year? In the administrative remarks that were made last month in a committee meeting, there was a bill SB 1078 that was referred to that has been passed in the House. It's about security and safety matters that are able to be discussed in the executive session. And I guess my comment or question is, if the executive session, the members of the board feel that this is safety or security that all of the school districts should know, will it then come forward in a public meeting? In other words, there's some neighboring school districts, things that are happening that have been withheld from parents, and the parents always find out, either through the students or social media, and that seems to cause more havoc than it is to help the situation. So my question is, will Radnor Township School District consider bringing that forward to the public if it's something that they feel the public, not only discussing it in executive session? And one other question, I guess, I'm sorry if Miss Sherry brought it up because I was listening but not listening. On the age of those that were surveyed, it was interesting there weren't any younger people. Is that because those that answered were only in that 55 to 65 age range? No other younger people who don't have children answered this, is what you're saying, the survey.
We're gonna talk about the survey in a second.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Mrs. Skirtle. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, let's move to the approval of minutes. Did everybody have a chance to look at them? Any concerns, or we can mark those as approved? Okay, then we'll move into agenda item 4.1, the overview of the public communications survey.
Thank you. So, I don't want to read through statute, obviously, because you have all the information in front of you, and I don't want to just read from the paper, but quick overview of each of these sections. You'll see that we pinpointed 3 purposes for this study initially. And the second one, as we got going, kind of grew a little bit more than to make sure that we really wanted to hone in on those the TV channel. And then we did do some surveys last year around this time of this survey that we could compare them to and look at for some cross-referencing. You'll see we promoted it in various places, all listed there. And what we learned, and you'll see this later on, is that the Radnor patch is followed a good degree by people in this township. And we have, and we will continue to, send information to the patch for posting, because we have gotten back to the comments and in responses that people do visit that website. And then you'll see the other places where we distributed the information. Looking for 2 weeks, which is the same range as the 2017 parent and staff surveys. The respondents, there were 439 parent respondents last year and 198 staff. So 219 is, I guess, right in there. You'll see that the numbers underneath each of these categories, the 2 bullet points, are just the 2 highest. So yes, there were additional age groups that completed the survey, because you see if you added, there's about 57% or so. So that would mean that 42% were not of those ages. The second page what I think is mostly encouraging from the survey, and what you'll see in the takeaways, are that people do feel informed about the district. I guess generally those at least responding to the survey feel informed. Only 4 of the respondents, the 219, are not interested whatsoever in knowing anything about the district, which is pretty telling to me. It says, you know, all 4 people want to know something. Again, the impression of RTSD is also a nice takeaway, in the fact that most people have a positive impression of the school district. There's 7 that get into the negative area. We don't want that. We would rather there be 0, but to have, you know, that many out of 219 is a very high percentage of positive feelings. People are interested in knowing what's happening in the district, which leads us again to another takeaway, which I'll discuss, and that is finding ways to get them into our buildings more and show them what's happening in our schools and open the doors to non-RTSD parents. The where do you get your information about RTSD question, the reason that has been grouped in such a kind of a large range is because it really was that diverse. We had anywhere from, you see here, 47 to 27% people saying they go social media, they go to the patch, they go to the newspaper, they get word of mouth, they hear from their neighbors. So really, it says to me that we need to be varied in where we're putting information in our efforts. So it needs to be a kind of multifaceted approach and not just center on one explicit medium. And when we get to the did you know, that's when things get also really interesting, because it seems that people seem to know how to get information on board meetings and board committee meetings. Now again, we can think that the people that completed the survey may be more engaged generally because they took the time to complete a survey, so they may be the kind of people that would know how to get a board meeting live on our website. However, you know, we have high percentages there, so we have 70% for televised live committee board meetings. We have 61%. That's 61% that people know that they're streamed live. So the areas where we want to take a look at it are the no's. So 52% don't know we have budget information on the website. 64% don't know that meetings are available on demand. So those are the ones we want to look at closely, see how we can up those percentages, get those people aware of those offerings. Now we get into the TV channel, and this is where I really want to take a look. I really want to take a look with Ms. Crone and the TV studio on, you know, these results and what they mean for our study. People are aware of the channel. Watching it, they seem to do it a month for an hour, under an hour, but not really that much engagement with the television station. 31% even say they're not interested in watching. So what that tells me, when we go to the main takeaways, you'll see the 4th bullet point, which says we're right to be studying how we utilize the channel, particularly in this age of mobile and streaming video, and to develop a more comprehensive video strategy moving into the future. It goes beyond TV, because we're at a point now where people are picking up their phones, and that's how they're watching our videos on YouTube. They're looking for live streams of our games, live sporting events perhaps. So we really have, I think, a sea change coming for how we handle video in this district and our television station. And I'm happy that Nikki and the TV studio is on board. We have a plan, a timeline for studying this and the different components and aspects of it. So that's going to be a big focus for us over the summer. The other takeaways, you can read them here, but are mostly that there's a positive feeling about the district. Some sample comments. I appreciate it's a great district that keeps the property values high. Even though I don't have children, I think an excellent school district is important to the community as a whole, to property values, etc. No news is good news. That was another comment that someone said. In terms of people wanting to know what's going on in the district, a couple comments. Significant matters relating to the district are of interest to all township property owners. We have young children that go to St. Catherine's. It'd be great to be informed of programs, events going on at RTSD that they still could be a part of. So, interesting comments about things maybe weren't thinking of before, that we now can start considering because of some of these non-parents' desire to know more and be a part of the school district more. When we get down to some general strategies that may be effective in reaching more citizens who do not have children currently enrolled in our schools, print mailing was actually a very popular request. We had several comments come through asking for some sort of a print product. And I've already been in contact with Tammy Cohen at the Radnor Township Recreation Department. She's looking at a magazine opportunity that the district might be able to be a part of. And we kind of explored this opportunity a couple of years ago, and she now is taking another look at it, and we actually want to sit down for a meeting to see is there a way we can partner to do something with that magazine, and that could hit the whole print mailing desire that some people seem to have. Also, when I was mentioning before about an event catered to this demographic, there were some comments about there's something along the lines that there should be more use of the schools by the community. So there seemed to be a desire that, let us know when things are happening, even if we don't have kids in the schools, we still may want to, go to the musicals. Now, we do put promotions out publicly in the patch and elsewhere to invite anyone to come to the art show or anything like that, but perhaps there's a dedicated event we offer we specifically market to just, not just, but targeted at the parents who don't have children in the schools, maybe just to come in and see what's going on. Maybe we do a couple different exhibits, kind of brainstorming some things, but that could be an option maybe for next year. I think that could be something we could put together relatively easily. And a couple things we learned for next time though. We definitely want to try to find a better way to potentially weed out the people that might not be those that we intend to survey. Anyone could have taken the survey, so you didn't technically have to prove that you don't have children in our schools. I don't know how we would confirm that. I don't know how we would make sure a person doesn't, but it is something that occurred to me through reviewing the survey at the end. We also want to maybe think about parents that once had students here, and do we want them to take the survey? Because we had some people who completed the survey who had children in the school district who had graduated, and they completed it because they don't currently have students here. I'd like to have had responses from people who have no affiliation with the district at all, ever. So that was something that also kind of occurred to us after the fact. And there are some responses that are best fit for other administrative departments to see. There's a good amount of stuff that really isn't communications related, so I do plan on formatting those and getting them off to the appropriate administrators. So that's a quick overview of the report of the survey. Any questions?
We have to toss it around to our student, teacher. Any questions, Amy?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Sarah, do you have any?
Michael, I just had a couple quick questions. When we have events that, for example, kids at St. Catherine's might be interested in, do we let St. Catherine's know? Are you in communication with communications directors at the other schools in our district?
Currently, no.
Okay, because that might be an easy way for them to kind of add it to whatever parent notice that they've got. Certainly if they're open events. The other question I had, it's worth just kind of, I throw it out there not as a criticism, but one of the takeaways from the survey, the first one was that people who don't have children in the district want to know what's going on in the district. I'm not going to say that's not true, but we had 219 respondents and only 65% of them were interested. If people didn't answer the survey, some of them didn't know about it. But I'm not saying people aren't interested, but I think maybe that's not our number one main takeaway. I think, and people maybe are interested in the fact that the district does well and continues to do well, but maybe aren't as worried about getting a print mailing every week about which art shows we've got going on. I would balance kind of your thinking that we need to spend a lot of, I'm mostly concerned about spending money when perhaps people would be just happy to get that general information after the fact and see that there was an art show when they look at the newspaper.
The good news about this magazine is that it would actually be free to participate, from what I understand. So I had to look more closely into it to see what might have changed since we looked at it 4 years ago. Time flies. It was 4 years ago we looked at the opportunity. But yes, but I understand what you're saying. I think that's a good point.
Okay. Thanks.
Lydia?
Yeah, thank you. This is very thorough. Conscious of the time frame, I'm going to defer any questions. Thank you.
And given that we only have 30 minutes, and I don't think we want to rush through an important item like 4.2, would it be possible to put that off to August?
Sure, I have a plan for rolling it out to the relevant stakeholders throughout the summer, so that'll move forward, you know, regardless of our discussion tonight, but yeah, we can put it on, no problem.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. All right, I just quickly, before we move to the final public comment, I have two pieces of new business quickly. I want to thank Jack Hughes, our student representative who has served with us for done a terrific job. I think it took him a meeting or so to get his voice, but when he got it, it was so helpful, and we're so glad that you decided to join us on this committee, Jack, so thank you. And I also just wanted to say that word is that the governor should be signing, the budget should be passed relatively soon. The deadline for that is June 30th. And along with that could come, again, like last year, an omnibus amendment to the school code where all of a sudden these pieces of legislation that have been floating around could end up becoming part of that budget bill. So we may find ourselves with a lot of legislation that we've been watching all of a sudden in effect as law. So we'll stay on top of that and report back on that probably in August, because hopefully the budget will, even with the delay, will be done by August. But I think given it's an election year, everyone says the budget should be done on time, in fact, any day. So with that, let's turn to public comment unless anybody else has any new business they want to talk about. Okay, is there any final public comment?
Sherry. I'm back to news media relations again. So if I read this, and am I reading this incorrectly, for all of the booster clubs, before they post any photos of the teams, digital sports, before it posts any photos, they need prior approval from Mike Petiti before they can post those photos. Am I correct on that?
Each coach and each teacher has a list of the students that are not allowed to be photographed, so they can choose to, so they should be following that list and posting only those students that are allowed to be.
It says all publications releases photos, all of them, while on district property, must be approved by the Director of Communications. It doesn't say if you've checked with students first and if it's all right. It says all publications releases photos. It says staff members shall not give school information. I was thinking about Mrs. Stein at this meeting tonight. She goes up and asks someone a question after the meeting. She has to get permission from Mr. Petiti before she is able to, before that person is able to respond to that. Staff members shall not give school information or interviews to external news media representatives without prior approval. So if something happens in a meeting and a staff member says anything before that reporter can interview that person, they need permission from Mr. Petiti to answer.
Yeah.
That's stunning to me. Honestly, I'm surprised that students wouldn't be more concerned about that they have to have media have prior approval before they speak to anyone in the news media. I mean, I don't see how, again, I'll get back to enforcement. What happens if you don't follow this? What's the consequence? And if you're just selectively enforcing it, how's that fair?
Okay, thank you. Is there any other public comment?